Good day, everyone. Today, I'll be discussing a very important figure in literature, which is T.S. Eliot and his role in the Modernist movement in poetry. So let's start with modernism. Modernism was a literary and artistic movement that emerged in the late 19th and early 20th century. It was a reaction to the rapid changes in society caused by industrialization, urbanization, and especially the horrors of World War I. Modernist writers and artists broke away from traditional forms to reflect the complexities, uncertainties, and even the fragmentation of modern life. It was all about capturing the reality of a world that was changing fast and often felt confusing or chaotic. Now, let's talk about Thomas Stearns Eliot, more commonly known as T.S. Eliot. T.S. Eliot was born in St. Louis, Missouri, but later moved to England where he became a British citizen and spent most of his literary career. Eliot studied philosophy and literature at Harvard, the Sorbonne, and Oxford, which gave him a wide range of intellectual influences. His poetry, especially known for being complex, full of literary references, and rich with intertextuality, meaning he often refers to other texts within his own. Some common themes in his work include spiritual emptiness, disillusionment, and the fragmented nature of modern life. One of the early and most famous poems is the love song of G. Alfred Prufrock. This poem introduced a modern poetic voice, one that was introspective, ironic, and very different from the traditional poetry of the past. So here are the key features of modernist movement and poetry. First is fragmentation. Fragmentation is breaking up the poem's structure, narrative, and syntax. Next is stream of consciousness. Stream of consciousness is a narrative mode that attempts to capture the flow of character, thoughts, feelings, and perceptions. Next is irony and disillusionment. Irony and disillusionment is a sense of detachment from traditional values and recognition of the gap between ideals and reality. The last one is focus on inner self and consciousness. Here is the modernist poetry shifted the emphasis from external events to the internal experiences of the individual. Influences on modernism, we have World War I, industrialization and urbanization, break from romanticism and Victorian ideals. One of his early and most famous poems is the love song of G. Alfred Prufrock. This poem introduced a modern poetic voice, one that was introspective, ironic, and very different from the traditional poetry of the past. His most famous work, though, is The Wasteland, published in 1922. It is a cornerstone of modernist literature and reflects the feelings of post-war disillusionment. The poem uses an experimental style, combining different voices, languages, and cultural references. The type of the love song of G. Alfred Prufrock by T.S. Eliot is the dramatic monologue modernist poem. The poem is written as a one-sided conversation where the speaker, Prufrock, reveals his thoughts and emotions to implied listener. Modernist poem, it breaks from traditional poetic structure. Instead of following a clear plot of rhyme, it reflects the disordered fragmentation mind of modern. The main character is the G. Alfred Prufrock. He is an introspective, self-conscious, and emotionally isolated middle-aged man. Through his thought, we see his internal struggles with love, purpose, and self-worth. The poem came out during a time of great change and uncertainty just before the height of World War I, which influenced the themes of anxiety and disillusionment found in the poem. The poem follows Prufrock, a middle-aged man, has to reflect on his life, fears, and insecurities. They show how the entire poem is essentially a window into Prufrock's mind, his doubt, regrets, and fear of judgment. He walks through a foggy city, and contemplating whether to express his love or stay silent. Kanina siya nga city is ang kaninga city kasi nagsymbolize siya sa foggy, confusion and hesitation. He debates where to reveal his feeling but first rejection and embarrassment. So he struggled with feelings of inadequacy and isolation, famously asking, do I dare disturb the universe? This quote reflects his fear of making bold choices, especially in love or life. He feels small and powerless in vast and different world. So here are innovation techniques with first use of allusions and intertextuality, collage of voices and cultures, mythical method influenced by James Joyce. T.S. Eliot themes in his poetry. First, alienation. Eliot's characters often feel isolated and disconnected from others, reflecting the scenes of loneliness and anonymity that characterize modern urban life. So sa The Love Song of G. Alfred Prufrock, kay ang protagonist is na-paralyze siya by his own anxiety and unable siya to connect with others. Sa Wasteland naman, kaya ang na-depict siya sa world where ang people kay fragmented and disconnected, struggling to find meaning and purpose. Next, spiritual emptiness. Sa spiritual emptiness naman, Eliot's poetry often portrays a sense of spiritual void. Lack siya of faith, purpose in a world that has lost and traditional values. Next is search for meaning in fragmented world. So, sa Eliot's characters are often searching for meaning and purpose in a world that seems chaotic and disorienting. So, same sa The Wasteland, ang The Wasteland can explore siya, search for the Grail, a symbol of spiritual renewal, redemption in a world that has lost its sense of purpose. Sa Four Quarts naman, kay meditates on themes of time, memory, and the human condition, suggesting that spiritual fulfillment is possible through a reconciliation of opposite and acceptance of the divine. So, impact and legacy. First, influence on the other poets and writers. Explain how the writer's style, themes, or ideas inspired other poets and writers. Mention if their techniques or philosophies were adapted, challenged, or expanded upon by later authors. You could give a few examples of notable writers who were influenced by them. For example, their innovative use of the verse influenced poets like, while their themes of identity and freedom echo in the works. So next, contribution to literary criticism. Describe how these writers not only created literary works, but also helped shape how literary is studied, analyzed, and understood. For examples, through essays and lectures, they redefine the role of literature in society para ma-argue and should both reflect and challenge norms. And the last one is lasting significance in modern and contemporary literature. Talk about why their work still matters today. Highlight how their themes, techniques, or message remains relevant or continue to be studied, adapted, or referenced in modern literature, film, and culture. For example, even today, their exploration of personal freedom and societal expectation resonates in contemporary novels, films, and theater productions. And that's all for my part. Thank you.